Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit of the WoW podcast, Blue Please on CynicalBrit.com. I thought you'd like to have a look at Gilneas from the air, since the Greymane War kind of got a bit busted, and indeed is part of the reason, if not all of the reason, why the Forsaken are invading to begin with. So you can fly through this. I'm on my Horde character right now. I thought there might be an invisible wall, but it turns out there is not. Now, the reason for doing this is, firstly, we get to see some stuff we didn't see before, and secondly, we get to see phasing in action once again. This phase is completely different to the last bit of the Worgen starting zone. You can see there, we've got an Alliance submarine in Keel Harbour Bay, and the actual Keel Harbour itself is now completely deserted. The Nightelf ships have left, so they're not permanent set pieces at all. The Nightelves are gone, the Worgen are gone, most of this zone is deserted. It's difficult to be 100% sure as to whether that's because of the phasing or simply because this zone hasn't been completed yet. You might think it a little odd that I say, well, completed, obviously the zone's finished because you can get in here as part of the Worgen starting area. Well, not necessarily the case, because if what I read is correct, there are some quests to go in here as the Horde in order to actually battle the Worgen and push forward the battle lines of the Forsaken in Silverpine Forest, which, as you can imagine, leads all the way down to the Greymane Wall and into Gilneas itself. It's nice to be able to get a good look at the city of Gilneas from the air. We had a little bit of a view when we did the bombing run quest, but it wasn't ideal. Nice to just have a look around at our leisure. Everything's deserted. The battle for Gilneas in this part of the timeline has finished, though there are indications that there will be a battleground based on the Battle of Gilneas. That was mentioned at last year's BlizzCon, if I remember correctly, but there's no sign of that in the beta yet, and we don't have any information. Oh look, random no-fly zones. Always fun. There are quite a few of those. Something you do have to watch out for when exploring areas of the beta. You can see there that it acts like a normal ground mount, which is why I fell there, but then I was able to fly again. It's not the only example of this. People have been asking me to show them Silvermoon from the air. I can't. It's a no-fly zone. I imagine they haven't finished it yet, and they may even decide just not to make it a flying zone at all. What you can do in Silvermoon is ride around on your flying mount like it would be a normal ground mount, and it sort of bounces around. It's very odd. While Gilneas does have a canal system, it's obvious that it's getting a little bit over-flooded now. It's obviously as a direct result of the Cataclysm itself. What we're going to do is we're going to visit a few areas that we've been before, as well as some areas that we couldn't access, such as, say, the top of the Greymane Wall, as well as the lighthouse that I showed you at the start of Darkshore Leveling 1. You might wonder just what's different between this and Darkshore Leveling 1. Well, that should be fairly obvious. I mean, the Keel Harbour bit right there is completely different to the phase that I'm in, even when I return to Gilneas using my Hearthstone. We're heading over to Greymane Manor, which was the sort of refugee centre and triage area in the Worgen starting zone, just because I want to have another look at the observatory, because it's awesome. I mean, look at that. I like the glowing orange very much so, in contrast with the darker Gothic architecture. A little bit of bower stone going on there from Fable. We'll go and have a quick look inside, although what you'll find is, well, nothing, unsurprisingly. There you go. I'm not entirely convinced by the two-way coloured glass that they seem to have there. You've got a glowing green stained glass window on the inside, but on the outside it's bright orange. Don't think so. Now, what I'm showing you here is the remains of Dusk Haven. What you need to understand is that this area is phased several times over the course of the Worgen starting zone, and then by the end of it, it's actually way worse than when we first saw it. If you remember when the Cataclysm happened, we had some areas crumble away and get flooded. Now it's got even worse. There was some sort of rapid erosion here and even more flooding. That's the fisherman's area. It's now an island. That's all that's left of it. Looks like they've evacuated like they said they would. Grandma's house, all gone. The whole lot is flooded. I do like the multiple phases that they've put in here. It's better than just having a binary state. I'll be honest, considering my perceived laziness of Blizzard in terms of, say, Tier 9 and Tier 10 raid content, whereby they turn their non-binary hard modes into simple on and off switches. I'm pretty impressed that they took the time and put in the effort to show a progression in terms of the zone and how it changes. That's where that angry Etten was. And it's nice that you can have a look at this and you can see the progression as we worked our way around this zone. It's very nicely set out and it's pretty clear. It's like we traveled along here and then we reached Stormglen. This entire zone actually is one big circuit with Gilneas as the centerpiece. Stormglen is completely empty. Those of you who are hoping to grab yourself a wary mastiff as your pet, especially if you're horde, you may be out of luck. There are no mastiffs here at all in this phase. That does not necessarily reflect the final state of this product, and I do need people to understand that because they keep having this crazy idea that everything I show them is going to be absolutely final, and this is what you're going to see pixel for pixel in the release. That is just not true. We'll head over here to the Lighthouse and Tower. One of the two. Maybe it's multi-purpose. It's Tempest's Reach. You'll remember in our adventures in this area, we had a bit of treachery towards King Greymane. They captured him, some of the lords and barons, simply because they wanted to try and trade him to the Forsaken in order to stop them from invading, as if that would have worked. We need more of these towers. They're awesome. Now, there is something I want to show you here that we did not get the chance to see before. This is a kind of odd area, and I don't know why it's here. There's no reason for you to ever go here in the starting zone. But what puzzles me are the mobs in this area. Yes, this is one of the only areas in this phase that actually has mobs. What's weirder is what kind of mobs. Now, this zone does not have a name, but that's clearly an alliance tower. We've got some writhing mages. We've also got some cursed justicars. And there is one final kind of mob here as well called a condemned cleric. These are all ghosts by the looks of it. It's very odd, isn't it? I can't imagine. Now, the weirdest thing is the level of these mobs. There you go. Level 60 elite. In the middle of this area. Now, as far as I can tell, the only reason the Horde would have to go in here in the first place is for quests at the latter half of Silverpine. So, why would there be 60 elites on an island in the middle of nowhere? There may just be placeholders for something else, but it is intriguing nonetheless. There may also be a reason for the Alliance to come back here at some point. Now, I'm going to fly us along the Greymane wall. Apparently, it was, to some degree, a dam, although I have the feeling that water might not have been there before the Cataclysm. The wall is ruined in several places, as you might imagine. Most of it connects onto Silverpine and a little bit of Alterac as well. It's one damn impressive wall. It's freaking enormous. Talk about the impracticalities of it. Some of you might wonder why this wall's even here to begin with. Well, apparently it was erected after the second war by a fellow by the name of Greymane. And Gilneas actually isolated itself from the Alliance, and it was a result of a dispute involving orc internment camps. Some of you might not recognize King Greymane's first name, and that's actually Gen, so it's the same guy. If you want to know where he is right now, after all of this, he actually ends up in Stormwind Keep. He's standing next to Varian Rin. Now, my eternal quest to actually get to this goddamn lighthouse has finally come to an end. What can I say? I like lighthouses. They're neat. What you'll also notice is that we've got 3 Alliance warships in the bay now, so things have definitely changed. There was no sign of any Forsaken fleet. It looks like the Forsaken have been completely driven out, but they are still pushing now through the Greymane wall. The zone even has a name, although there is no reason to go into it as far as I can tell. I would think that there may be some Forsaken quests in here whereby you have to maybe kill the sailors or whatever, but that's not evident at this point in time. And that about covers it, ladies and gentlemen. That was a look at the Gilneas zone from the air, as well as a few things we didn't get to see last time, and a bit of a demonstration of yet more phasing in action. My name's been Totalbiscuit, and I will see you next time.